Thank you for watching the World Community Magazine's Hour of Power Live on Facebook with your hosts Edward McQueen and April Garner.
Yes, we're back live again. Good evening to you, April.
Good evening, Brother Edward. How are you?
All right, so always good. I'm feeling fine. Today is Tuesday, and usually Tuesdays this time of the year, getting close to like election time of some sort, even on a very, very local level or national or statewide or national level. But good evening to our audience, by the way. I'm Ed McQueen, your host, and of course, Miss April Garner, co-host, WCM Live. Yes. So this today we want to kind of deviate a little bit. We have some information that we want to share with you, and have some information that, from a political standpoint, that one of our candidates wants to share. And I might throw in a caveat there that this is a paid broadcast, by the way. I mean, it's paid for his appearance, by the way. And what I'd like to do, April, just get right into it, because we want to know what his platform is, and we want to know what our citizens who are going to be impacted in the event that he matriculates further, how they're going to be impacted. And certainly willing to hear some comments from them. So let's get right on with our guest. What do you say?
Let's do it. Here he is.
All right, Mr. Kendall Brown.
Good evening. How are you guys this evening?
Not bad. Every candidate like yourself said it's going to be different. You're going to see some changes around here.
That is correct. It's a roller coaster every day.
So. It's a roller coaster every day.
Yes, sir.
Man, I can't wait. I'm sure most people can't wait. Hopefully, there are going to be some fruitful changes. To our audience, if please feel free to send in your comments. I want to ask questions to Mr. Brown for appearing and articulating his platform as we go along. So, Mr. Brown, let's just start just by giving the audience a brief summary of your background and so forth, and going from there. Okay.
Very well. First of all, good evening to those who are watching with us this evening, all guests. My name is Kendall Brown. I am originally born and raised right here in Conway, South Carolina. Of course, I grew up, went to school in Horry County Schools, graduated from Horry County Schools in 2005. I have an extensive background in hospitality, and particularly front desk as it relates to Sheraton, Marriott, and Wyndham, of course. But outside of that, I graduated from Ord Georgetown Technical College with a degree in human services. Before graduating at Ord Georgetown Technical College, during the time of my last term there, or last year at Tech, I began a internship with Horry County government with the 15th Circuit Solicitor's Office, primarily in pretrial intervention and drug court, which kind of opened my door to the government scene at that particular time. Wasn't expecting it, but definitely was a great opportunity for me to learn citizens' backgrounds and what they go through outside of just what you would see every day. Shortly after graduating at Tech, I continued in the hotel background, but in 2013, I was hired at Horry County government in the Register of Deeds office, which I'm still there today. In that particular position, I look over about 4,000 documents a month as it relates to preserving citizen records within Horry County. But outside of that, in 2015, I was appointed to the Planning Commission, which I'm still on today as well. And that really opened the door to why I'm here today. So that's a brief synopsis. I don't want to tarry on too long, but I could go on longer.
Well, we'll wait to hear some more later on as things move forward with hopefully from people who want to know more about you. I certainly want to know more about you. I don't think I've ever met you personally, but so far seems like you're on a good track.
Yes, sir. I've actually seen you plenty of times. You just haven't seen me yet. I'm a member of Cherry Hill Missionary Baptist Church. I didn't announce that as well, but I've seen you here and there at our church quite a
Well,
bit.
I'm sure I'm having my camera a lot, and I'm sure most people tell me the same thing that you're saying. I see you, but you never saw me. So,
Yes, sir.
but having said that, do you see that you're running for city councilman? Why? I guess maybe because it's the opportunity for a vacancy here, but
Mhm.
how do you look at that compared to county councilman? Could you have would you have wanted kind of like waited to see how impactful you'd be with the county councilman instead of the city council?
Unfortunately, with my current job, that would be a conflict of interest on
Oh,
the
okay.
county level, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. Well, we're certainly looking forward for you to be involved, and you'll be at the table.
Yes, sir.
Number one.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Um, so you just delve a little bit on your past experience, but your experience for, and I don't want to sound repetitive, but your experience for being preparing you for this position as a city council. Um, can you give any specifics on that? What do you think? Um,
Well, I believe, in the words of my late grandmother, character training and life skill training begins at home. And growing up in Conway, I lived, of course, a single parent household. Um, and my mom did an amazing job in raising me. And as a matter of fact, I didn't dwell into her a little bit, but she is a retired City of Conway Police Department employee after 28 years. She retired. But she really did an amazing job in teaching me the right way, teaching me life skills, teaching me how to not only carry myself but how to treat others. And
yeah,
in that
right.
training of learning how to treat others, it has broadened my horizons. Everyone that I come across or come around, they love to have me around. And in the midst of loving to have me around, we do a lot of talking. So I've had quite some time talking to especially members of my church who have really just given me the wisdom, the strength, and the advice, the encouragement to do everything that I'm capable of doing everything. And that's brought me a little bit to where I am today. Also, I acknowledge my church. I acknowledge my church family who have played an integral role in my life. Not just by going to church every Sunday morning, but when my mother was not available to take me to church, I had a desire to go to church. So we had youth advisors that would pick me up and make sure I was in church and make sure that I had a level heart, which will kind of join a little bit into what I'm going to talk about a little bit later as far as my thoughts for the future of Conway. But my church family, my life experiences within living in Conway have definitely given me a leg ahead, and also being on planning commission as well. That experience and listening to the citizens' needs, their wants, what their desires are, what they aspire Conway to look like, um, has really brought me to this point in my life.
Well, I'm April. You can chime in whenever you want to chime in. So okay, um, go ahead.
So Kendall and I had a little chat pre-show, and I asked the question, of course, about his desire to jump into the political arena, and where that all came from, and because certainly politics isn't something that you enter into, as the minister would say, lightly or unadvisedly. It's a really, it's a powerful machine, and what we're seeing as a pattern lately is that there are a lot of young people or younger people who are getting into the political arena Maybe it's that they want to be change agents, and they see how politics flows as it stands, and want to be the persons to come in and actually move the needle. Because sometimes I think we get stuck on political issues, and you spend 10 or 15 years talking about the same thing over and over again, and nothing is really happening. So tell the audience a little bit about what really inspired you to enter politics. We hear you about your background and all that good stuff, and it sounds like you're definitely a community gentleman, born and raised. But what made you say to yourself, I want to see if I can make a bigger impact through politics?
Great question. Probably around 2 years ago, I was approached by someone that kind of saw the leadership skills in me, the insight in myself to make better decisions, to make great decisions as it relates to others. Um, Someone that encourages others and wants the best in the future in young adults. And it was said to me, or said, you would be a good person for city council in the next couple of years, or you should try it out. And so I thought about it, spent a little bit of time talking with my mother about it, and we kind of discussed it, kind of went over a few things, and decided that that was not the right time for other personal reasons. But just my love for Conway, my love for where I've grown up, to see the growth that's going on within Conway, and to also see the need in others that they state that all areas of Conway should experience growth and should experience the same
Yeah.
luxuries or the same things that other parts of the area have received. And I speak to persons all the time now, regardless of whether or not they step up to the plate and vote at that time. I'm not exactly sure of. And of course, I don't want to really dwell that much into the personal lives. But the streets do talk, or the citizens of the Conway area do talk, and they want change. They want persons that are there that not only, I would say, in certain situations look like them, but that they have the same interests that they have, that they can be assured that the persons that are behind the table are thinking of what they're thinking about, that are bringing their thoughts to the table each and every time that they go in. One thing that I've learned, not only before I decided, but now, is that it's not about me. I was reading something that someone stated that a public servant, is just that, a servant of the public. It's not particularly about yourself. So that's one thing that I have learned over the past couple of years, that you are a trustee. You are a person of trust that should be trustworthy to get the job done. And like I said, make the best decision as it relates to others.
Right. So we have a question already from one of our loyal viewers, Priscilla Fuller, and thank you for joining us tonight. And she, of course, asked the question, I'm sure is on everybody's minds: what are the most pressing issues in Conway for the residents? So, it's interesting. It's a great question, and it will be interesting to hear it from your perspective, because I think that when you look at the spectrum of people in the community, you have a spectrum that is rooted in your, millennial base, your Gen X, your this, that, and the other, and then a perspective that's rooted in the baby boomers and the ones who have traditionally been in the community and really have the historical perspective of how Conway has changed. So as you think about issues that impact everyone in the community, what do you think are the most pressing issues that impact Conway as a whole?
The number one thing that I believe is most pressing for Conway citizens is public safety. And that goes a little bit into many different areas. The first one being, of course, the traffic, the congestion around Conway. I'm going to give an example. On Saturday, I went down to get something to eat at a downtown eatery, and every single avenue approaching downtown was full. It was blocked. So I had to park at Fifth Avenue and get out of my car and walk 2 blocks up. And that's just a regular Saturday afternoon. There were no special events planned, to my knowledge, that would have blocked traffic in such a way. The same thing happens on a regular Monday through Friday scenario of congestion getting through the major arteries of Conway. Thankfully, blessed, I'm only have about a 3 minute commute to work, but for others, it is quite the large scenario. And so when you think about congestion as it is now, Conway has many plans for different developments coming up in Conway. Most notably, the Warden Station project, which is going to be coming up on 701 South if it's passed, just outside of Conway. So I was speaking during my canvassing events with a citizen who their major thought is, well, if you bring that Warden Station project in, traffic is just going to be outrageous getting out. Just think about persons getting to school on a regular day basis. So when you think about that, that's one of the most pressing issues. Also, as it relates to public safety, transparency within law enforcement is a top issue for some, maybe not for all, but for quite a bit of people. It is a situation, or it is an issue that others look at. So I would definitely say public safety is one of the most top issues. Also, equality, as it relates to Conway, is a issue that others or that some of our citizens look at. One in particular, just having events, having the city being more receptive to events, being involved in events, is something that I believe that others may be more welcoming to or would
Mm-hmm.
want as far as Conway is concerned.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned earlier you've worked on a planning commission or a board. What capacity have you worked in terms of, city government or any commissions or whatever that relate to city or operations? What was the?
Yeah, so Planning Commission basically meets once a month
Mm-hmm.
on first Thursdays of every month. Planning Commission is responsible for all new variances, all new homes, all new subdivisions. They all come through our commission. And it's the commission's responsibility to take a look at those new projects and number one, take a look at it, see if it meets what Conway's future looks like, and that's with the comprehensive plan. It has to meet that, and also it must meet all things anywhere from setbacks to design standards. Everything must meet quality to not only go through us, but then of course to go through City Council. I started or was appointed on Planning Commission in 2015. In the beginning, it was just our decision, and then it basically went to City Council. Now, the first public hearing of the city actually goes through Planning Commission before it even passes us or is denied by us and moves on to the next step. So, in that particular position, not only do I review those particular projects, but I also listen to citizens of the area. And I'll just give an example based on there is a church that's located in Conway, or was previously a church, and one of the projects, or the next person that wanted to take over it, wanted to do a daycare. So citizens, of course, in the area were not wanting that to come to the area, mainly because of traffic in that small residential area. Um, and they were demanding a traffic study, which quite honestly happens quite a bit, whether if it's there or if it's in another area like Wild Wing, when they were going to bring Aldi. They wanted a traffic study there on 501 in that area, but they wanted a traffic study, and basically citizens really bring their concerns to the table. So that was kind of a first step for me to kind of see where things were as far as what citizens want, what they desire. Certain projects they love better than others.
Mm-hmm.
One cool project, or one that a lot of people love, is the new hotels that are coming near coastal Carolina. One namely being the Fairfield by Marriott. I know a lot of people see that right
Mm-hmm.
across from Tech. And then also the Home 2 Suites, which is going to be right next to the mental health location. A lot of people love that because that's going to bring a lot of business um, to coastal Carolina. So some projects are easy to come by, and then some of them, if they're in a bad area, it's going to take a lot of work to move it through.
It sounds like it's a great background to have as far as planning commission, because, sitting on the planning commission, you're in the midst of everything that is discussed in terms of urban development and, community expansion. And of course, there've been a lot of conversations, discussions, points of contention, major points of friction surrounding, development in the area, roads coming through and things like that. So, I think sometimes people don't understand the role of city council, county council, other councils and commissions when it comes down to those types of decisions that are made. So, based on what you have experienced and been a part of in the planning commission, how does that all now transfer into what you would be doing as a city council member? What skills, what knowledge, insights you've gained through that work will go with you or travel with you into your city council seat?
Well, mainly it goes a little bit further than that. Of course, the Planning Commission is like you said, is a wonderful thing. Not only because it's given me the experience of working with citizens, but also different members of the actual city government staff. During my time on the 7 years, I've been with 3 of the planning directors, one of them who is now the administrator. So I've had the time to work one-on-one with them. And that's also given me the communication skills, find out what's needed in the city of Conway. And then also what the future is like by looking at the comprehensive plan. So that gives me a little bit more background in that, looking forward to city council. Going into city council, of course, that won't be the only issue, but that will particularly be the major issue. One of the top major issues within city council and Conway's future, because everybody's looking to the future. What's coming up next?
Yeah.
What is coming? And also in that same respect, also looking forward to the future of Conway as it relates to economic investments. We see homes that are coming, but like the other day I was talking with somebody that said, we need a home lobby store. We need something over our way that we don't have to go to the beach for. So working with our Chamber of Commerce, strengthening those relationships to bring the most effective businesses that will not only bring customers to Conway to shop downtown, but to shop other places within the city and be and stick around and maybe want to make their home in Conway.
What do you think is going to be one of the first things you will raise your voice in advocacy for if you should become elected into the city council in June 13th, as a matter of fact, is the special election. And we're going to talk about that in a minute as well, what this June 13th special election means and how it relates to the November election. But, I'm sure you've, sat back many nights thinking to yourself, if I become a city council member, this is one of the first things that I want to make sure we're focused on. So talk about that a little bit.
One of the major things, like I said, it is one of the things I was talking about earlier was public safety. I actually had the chance a few weeks ago. I was picking up lunch and I ran into the chief of police, who was really receptive to speak with me, recognized me from being at the council meetings already. But he and I spoke for a few minutes and discussed some of the concerns that he has based on traffic in the area. And then also one of the other issues that he has is staffing. And staffing is basically based on budgeting and working on things as far as how the city works on the salaries and also being competitive with other municipalities. There's a lot of different, how should I put it? There's a lot of different other agencies that are grabbing them as well as the private sector. And I know a little bit about that mainly because I am a government employee. So that kind of gives me that kind of added benefit because I kind of can see it from both sides. So one of the things I would be working on is increasing public safety, increasing those persons, finding a way to get us more law enforcement officers, not just necessarily police, but any aspect that's lacking. And then the second project that I would really love to work on is bringing more community programs for our youth. That's one of my actual platform ideas, um, mainly because of how I grew up. I had the opportunity to have the summer culture enrichment program at Smith Jones,
Mhm.
which was a very beautiful experience for me that I still think about today for many reasons. So that would be two of my main main projects or main
Mhm.
platform ideas that I would love to get started on, finding ways to improve not only public safety as it relates to our city, but also to increase community involvement within our city, increasing the transparency, building more rapport. Before COVID, we had the chief of police came around and met with community members, and that was kind of what I was talking about earlier. We should not have to meet a police officer when there's a situation going on at our home.
Right.
At a break in, that should be the first time that someone knows where I live. But
Mhm.
for me, particularly, there was an incident that happened near my home, and when the officer got here, he said he didn't know where my home, or he didn't know where my street was, and my street is actually attached to a main two main arteries within the city. So
Wow.
for the officer not to know where a location is does not look good.
Mhm. Mhm.
So they should know where they're serving, know their persons, because that increases rapport. They know that they can count on you, and if there's an emergency, the citizens should definitely know they can count on you, and definitely know where they live.
Exactly. Well, there's another question that's been posed here, and it may have been answered already, but no, a unique question. Would you consider regular town hall meetings with the residents to keep them informed of things occurring in the city? So your stance on regular town hall meetings is the question.
Okay, I would love the opportunity to do more or to do town hall meetings. I believe town hall meetings happened to an extent before the pandemic, but they have since gone away. And I believe that it should be increased for one of two reasons. Number one, because the fact that citizens should know who their elected officials are, and vice versa. But then, secondly, because I receive, even before me fully announcing my aspirations for public office, I spoke with many different persons who have so many comments about city council and things that they would love to see improve within city council, but they don't attend the meetings.
Mm.
And that it's because I had one person tell me, "Oh, it's because I have to work." So that is something. But city council meetings are also live streamed, which I don't believe they're announced that much about it, but they are live streamed via YouTube and websites of the nature. But I believe that town hall meetings will make it a little bit more comfortable for citizens to make it and hopefully receive a respectful dialogue
Mhm.
between the two, not something where a person, or there should be, how should I put it, there should be strife or animosity, but it should be a welcoming climate that everyone's able to come in and meet and discuss specific needs for those particular areas, not
Mhm.
just the city as a whole. And that could really help bring some change, or bring a different perspective to improving our city.
All right. So earlier I mentioned that, of course, the upcoming election is June 13th, and it's actually a special election. So explain to our audience what this election is all about. And even you and I talked about how, there's, I think that people don't really understand how special elections, um, how they come about, why they occur, and also what happens once a special election is over. So, explain to everyone what this election is all about.
Okay, so first of all, this is a special election to fill a vacated position of one of the councilmen who resigned. He resigned to become a 15th Circuit Court judge. So he has began his tenure on the bench, and state law requires that an elected official's position, city council, must be filled within 13 Tuesdays of that council member's departure. So this will be right at 13 weeks. The interesting side of this, though, is that this position is only through the duration of the term of that council member, and his term ends on December 31st of this year. So, with that term ending at the time, your term basically is from the 1st of July, or in this case, it'll be the middle because there won't be a meeting at the 1st of July until December. So essentially, that person, if they would like to continue on council, they will have to file in late August to run again in November to then do another 4 years. So that looks a little bit funny. I actually had that question today. A person asked me, said, "Well, why does that position have to be filled now if it's such a short amount of time?" Well, that is state law, is that it must be filled within 13 weeks. So this particular special election is extremely important. For some, it may look as just, oh, it's just another election. Well, it's another person that's going to be on your local council and will make your decisions for the remainder of the year, and essentially there's a good chance that they will be there for the remaining or the next 4 years as well, because they will have more experience and the citizens will know them a little bit better. So it's a very, very important election. It's just filling one spot. There's only one. When you walk into the booth, a lot of times I actually used to work in elections, and they said, "Well, this is it. This is all. I thought there was more." No, this particular one is just for the one seat. And
Okay.
there are 5 persons running, but it's just that one seat.
All right. So a lot of interest in politics in Conway, Brother Edward, City Council in
Yeah,
particular.
I'm serious. And I'm really you're proud of the fact that the time that you spent on the planning board, and you're still on the planning board, right? Is that correct?
That is correct. I'm trying to remember because I'm at the building. The building where Plan Commission is held is actually the same building that City Council is temporarily being housed in due to the renovations of City Hall. But the renovations are
Right.
over, so they will resume on the 20th of June. But yes, I'm still on planning. I was at Planning Commission last week and City Council this week. So yeah, they're still. I'm still
Yeah.
on the board.
Right. And our viewers should understand that they're very, like April said earlier, that very important things. A lot of things come into play when you're on the planning board. You get to view a lot of stuff, and a lot of decision making emanates from that. And it's good that we have people at the table in the communities who can. But it would be nice if the communication would brought back, on a consistent basis, in a forum probably, to let the community know what planning has been done and what's ahead and how they might be impacted, stuff like that. Okay. I recall doing the plan, not the planning, but I guess it was the planning of the perimeter road for the around the city of Conway. It was such controversy around that because of the displacement impact that it had, and it still has. And I don't know what the status is now in terms of how they're going to, if everything's back to gravy, so to speak, where they can continue on with the perimeter road. I assume that you had gotten good realm of knowledge on that. Did you?
I did to an extent, because of the fact that I wasn't at city council meetings at the time. I wasn't able to be in the meetings and see persons that were commenting on a general basis right there. But of course, I'm an avid news reader, so I was able to read and learn. And then also, I have a member in my church who actually, the state was trying or is going to take a portion of her land, due to the exit of the perimeter road at 701 South, directly east of Food Line. So I have heard many different aspects of that perimeter road. A lot of people really love it. They can't wait for it to open. But unfortunately, on the opposite end, it does take a lot from the history of the Sandridge community. And really, you look at it, and some persons may look at it and say, well, what's the real need for it? but it does, or it will bring an additional artery within town, which brings me to another point. Eventually, they're going to want and love another artery for the 501 bypass. But that may be several years from now before that takes shape. So it does, as far as if you think about traffic, it really comes into a really big need. But when you think about other areas, hold on a second. When you think about other areas, it may not be a need for additional arteries for persons to get around the Conway area.
Yeah, I kind of think that that's a double-edged sword. Without conveying my opinion on that, because I don't want to opinionize on such a sensitive issue. And it's sensitive to the point where people have been displaced, and a lot of people have been, or a significant amount of people have been severely impacted, uprooted. I'm not aware that the compensation has been adequate or been fair compensation. I suppose that there has been compensation, for those who have been uprooted, and hopefully that it's more than fair. Okay, but it's like I said, it's like a double-edged sword. But you being on the planning commission, what can we expect? What is forthcoming in terms of my understanding? Let me just revert a little bit. My understanding that we had one of our correspondents for the city council was with us every other Tuesday, or when the meeting or something, or Monday, and he would report on Tuesday. One thing I think he brought up was that there was going to be they were planning a traffic circle right at the intersection of that 4th Avenue and 3rd Avenue and Main Street. Is that still into play, or is that still planning on that? Or maybe you haven't heard about it then, obviously.
I have not personally heard about it. I know at one time there was and I mean, not to laugh about it, but at one time there was a joke about it on social media. I can't remember, it was April Fool's Day or something like that. There was a circle done right there at the at City Hall, and they said the traffic circle's done. But then the next year, I know everybody saw this past year, they had the sign for Aldi's outside of City Hall. So I don't know for certain if that is something that is going to be coming into existence. However, that is one of the things that I'm very concerned about, like I was saying earlier, about downtown traffic, because those arteries are becoming a little bit more difficult. One of the things I'm not exactly sure if you've heard about or not as well is that the 18-wheelers have been coming through downtown area almost on a daily basis, and the ticketing for those have been around $200. But the enforcement of it has been pretty strong, but it's really not coming across as well as they would like it to. So they're getting ready to increase it to $500 to hopefully deter truckers from coming downtown. Because I believe there was one instance where traffic was cut off for several hours during the morning commute. So even though it at times you say, well, that wasn't really during the normal part of the day. A few hours of downtown traffic being heavily impacted on Main Street could make a significant impact to daily life for everybody, especially for those that don't know Conway in itself.
Yeah, traffic on Main Street in Conway is bananas. If you get stuck in it, you're stuck in it, and it's amazing because while there's been growth and development as far as more commerce moving into the empty parcels, it still doesn't seem to make sense because of the fact that I guess there's, there might be more foot traffic as far as people walking the streets. And I don't know if what's lending to it, whether or not people are, who are used to the area are thinking, I'm just going to go through downtown Conway because it'll be less congested versus going 501 to the beach. But, on any given day, it can be really, really bad. And I think that was one of the discussions surrounding that traffic circle. And Brother Edward, it's interesting that you brought it up because I totally forgot about that. When it was an idea, everybody's kind of like, huh? But that's definitely interesting. So there's another comment here, Keith Skinner Senior. Thank you for watching. Just basically kind of giving his endorsement of you, and that's great because that's your hometown rallying behind you, even though we're doing it from a distance. And I think, Kendall, that it says a lot about the fact that you have entered into an arena that can be highly volatile. Like Brother Edward says, highly sensitive. It takes thick skin to, get into the political machine and want to be a cog in the wheel. But, you're going to do it. And at least, we hope that, these elections will turn out in your favor if that's what you desire. But, over the course of time, I'm sure there's some things that the citizens of Conway will expect and hope to see from, all of our candidates, especially city council, especially these more local elections that really have a big impact on just everyday life. We can think back on things that have been discussed and debated and fought over it just in this past year alone, things that are, some questionable, some not, people going into city council meetings probably thinking to themselves, is this the hill I want to die on? But, willing to fight on that hill for what they believe in. And so, to be someone who wants to sit in front of the proverbial firing squad and, I guess, be that person who's willing to listen, but also come up with solutions. I think that's what people want, regardless of where they live, City of Conway, Myrtle Beach, wherever you live. And so hopefully, as Brother Edward, as we see politics evolving, we will move from, that bad, bitter taste that's usually left in our mouths behind politics to, more productive, positive, meaningful movements in politics that will shift the needle and actually change our cultures and environments. Because I'm getting tired of the status quo, to be honest, when it comes down to all politics. And we really need some fresh new voices to stand up and really fight for what they believe in and what they think the future is all about. So, Kendall, as you move into this election, June 13th, what's the one message you want the community to know as they make their decisions on who they're going to vote for? You said there are 5 candidates in the race. I'm only familiar with you and one other candidate. And I can say that, I wish they had more than one seat. If I were able to vote, I wish they had more than one seat because I think that, you are probably a formidable candidate as well as, all the other ones in their own right. But what do you want people to really know about Kendall Brown and what makes you different from everybody else who is vying for this seat?
Well, mainly that, hold on just a second for me. Mainly that I am.
You must live near the airport.
No, I'm actually, believe it or not, I'm outside.
Oh, okay, all right.
It was a nice, calm afternoon, so I've been trying to take a little bit of rest with during the day and all the emails I'm responding to. But mainly that I am heavily involved already. I have the experience on planning commission, which gives me the advantage that I know what residents are looking for. And I can't just say that I think I know, I do know because I'm there every month. So I'm listening to what they're saying. I'm listening to what they want. I'm listening to certain things like if there's a neighborhood and a person is trying to change a variance and make it into a business in their neighborhood, they don't want it. They want places where they can be safe, where they can raise their children and into a respectful town. And one of the major things that sometimes citizens, they don't want a place to be changed because if that business owner that goes in decides that they want to leave, it could become just anything. So that's one instance. And I definitely want to mention Mr. Skinner as well, because he's one of the business owners that came in to Planning Commission. But I am praying that I'm able to be a voice for all citizens regardless of who they are or their background. I've spoken with quite a bit already in my canvassing efforts, because one of the things I learned about, or in helping another campaign years ago, is that you got to get out in the street. People want to know who your face is, and of course, right
Absolutely.
behind my face right now, you see my
Yeah.
signs, which you've seen all over Conway. But probably about 45% of folks I've gone to, it says, "Well, I've seen your sign, but I don't know who you are."
Mm.
So it's kind of a difficult side being 37, and a lot of the voters that really are into politics, and the game changers in the area is much older. So I got to put a family member to my face to really know. But I want those to know that I truly care about my community. I'm not someone that's come to the area and I'm looking for economical gain. That's definitely not the case. Um, I'm one that's in the area just like you are every day. I feel the needs that you feel, being a working class individual, and I haven't had anything handed to me. I work for everything that I have. So I'm not one that's going to sit at the table and make judgments based on my personal needs. As I stated earlier, I'm a public servant. So I definitely am going to listen to what the community members want. And if you don't believe me, you could just look at my phone, because they're going to be calling me. I'm sure people are going to be calling me, and they're going to be addressing. They've already been addressing things. As a matter of fact, I had one member of my church that contacted me about an issue at her home, and I had to get to work without being an elected official. But when you're a caring individual, which is one of the C's on my platform, caring, connected, and committed, it doesn't matter if you're elected. If you're able to make a change in your community and make a change for others, that's my whole philosophy. It's always been. I've always been someone that's wanted to make a better place for those around me. If there's something I can do to help somebody, I'm gonna definitely do it.
Right. I do have one other question. I can't believe we haven't asked this. Have you been able to ignite your base as far as your age group to get out and vote and to be more involved in the political process?
Yeah.
Have you been able to do that? And if you haven't, what are the challenges? What are you hearing whenever you speak to people who are in your age group?
That's an interesting question. A lot of times, those who are in my age group, at times they have a voice, and they definitely are interested. But a lot of times, my age group, they're busy with other things. They have a life, and they like to travel and like to do different things. Which, for me, I traveled a lot in the previous 10 to 15 years, or even a little bit before then. So now I'm kind of here, and with my government job, I'm kind of in there. But a lot of people my age, they're just not really into politics as much as I am. A lot of times they look at me like, I can't believe you got that much time on your hands to do this, do that, XYZ. But I have encouraged in this fight, I have encouraged a lot of people, especially through social media, who have looked at me and said, I'm so proud of you. And a lot of different people have your same mindset in hand, is that I want a lot more younger people your age to become involved and to make a difference. And it's
Absolutely.
definitely possible. You just have to have the patience and the momentum. And like you said, April, you got to have thick skin. Yeah, I'm building that skin. It's building, but it's a good process.
Yeah, that's just a constant conversation. I know that what I jokingly said, I'm not even going to repeat that. We're live, what I said earlier about our, age difference. But, that's definitely one of the things that we struggle with, because I think that when you think about the traditional voter, the persons who tend to be more in tune and focused on politics, it is coming from a more senior level group or more mature group, whatever the correct term is to use for the older citizen. But young people, younger individuals, especially the ones who are now of voting age, don't really realize how much politics will impact them in the future. How much everything that's going on now will impact them in the future. How much everything that has happened even 5 or 10 years ago, it will impact them in the future. And so, I don't know what the magic formula is to get more young people involved in politics or interested in hearing more about the issues or just showing up to vote. But I would hope that when they see young candidates like yourself, I mentioned the young man in Myrtle Beach who's running for city council. Of course, Amanda was in the race and is now a city council official. You would hope that seeing you all in these roles will ignite some interest and spark, like you said, the momentum. But I don't know. We got to keep working on that part because, it's all about democracy and the voting process. And what we don't want the voting process to become is a dinosaur. And we don't want it to become something that becomes a one-sided, very tilted process in that, they're seeing we're not involved in the process, especially African Americans are not involved in the process. And there's one particular type of constituent that's always voting. And I think sometimes that's what they count on. You know what I mean? So, continue to work on that piece and push as well. And hopefully if they say what they see, they'll be. So hopefully, young people who recognize you and who know you from church and the community or whatever will see you as an example to follow for the future. So I was just curious about that to see, whether or not you were able to ignite the base that's based on your age group.
Well, even one other thing to even talk a little bit more on that is just like the city actually holds different events where they post up surveys about what you'd like to see better in downtown or all over the area as far as commuting, traffic studies, and just things like that on Facebook. I'm always following the city's page, so I'm not one that's not going to be involved or not know what's going on. So I think that's the first step, becoming more involved. Subscribing to city publications and seeing things and say, hey, look, I might want to be involved in that, or I want to see what's going on. I'm usually the one that's telling others about things, and it's not the other way around. So that's a thing too.
Okay. All right. Well, Brother Edward, that's all I have. I know you have. Go ahead, Brother Edward.
Yeah, we're about out of time, but Mr. Brown, it looks like you got a job ahead of you. You got about 2 or 3 other competitors who's running for the office. Is that true? 1 or 2?
I actually have 4. I was the first person that filed. I guess I was so excited to get in, and then I had another one to file the same day.
All right.
And then 3 others that filed behind us. So there are 5. The election, the early voting is going on this week through tomorrow. And then if you can't get out by tomorrow, by Friday at 5, I keep thinking today's Thursday, but today's Tuesday. You can't get out by Friday at 5, then you have next Tuesday, 7 to 7 at your local Conway locations. Please get out and vote. It's very, very important for your future.
Yeah. Right. Well, we're certainly we're glad you came on to articulate your platform and what you want to see Conway grow into, and some of the things that you want to change about Conway for the better and for all citizens. I'm sure that's the way you're thinking. We're glad to have you on the program to do that, and we're kind of non-partisan here. Are we, April?
We are non-partisan. We definitely are.
Yes, so we don't opinionize to an extent about who to vote for and stuff like that. But April brought up some good points about that. So you were about to say something, April?
I was going to say, and it's good for us to be that way because we need to hear from all sides. And and I know Brother Edward has always invited, members from both parties, all parties, because it isn't just a Democrat and Republican. There's all kinds of parties always popping up. But we tend to only have one type of party to, come on board and, whatever. But, that's really what being, I guess, people of who, when you go into a political arena, if you're really going into it for the right reason, you should have the desire to speak to everyone and to allow everyone to understand your platform. And I think that's a little bit of what's wrong with politics and why politics is broken. So, but thank you, Kendall, for being a part of our show this evening. Good luck to you. June 13th, I guess we'll know what the deal is. After June 13th, and hopefully it'll be favorable for you. And if so, there's a lot of work to be done. So, and just congratulations to you for stepping up and try to do the good work, to get into the good trouble, as John Lewis would say, right?
Absolutely. And keep your head up if you lose, and head even farther if you win.
Yes, sir. Thank you so very much.
Absolutely. Well, we just want to thank everyone for tuning in with us tonight. It was certainly a pleasure to see all of our guests from near and far. Columbia in the house, Charlotte in the house, I think Charleston in the house, and of course our local favorites in the house. And spread the word about the local election coming up June 13th if you are able to vote. Kendall, also one other thing, are people able to vote at their local precincts or their regular precincts, or is there one place that they need to go to vote?
Early voting through Friday is at voters registration on 4th Avenue. On next Tuesday morning, 7 to 7 is at your local Conway election precinct. If you have questions about that, call the voters registration at 915-5440. And they can tell you.
All right. Sounds good. Brother Edward, I think that's a wrap. What you think?
I think that's a wrap. We're wrapping with a candidate here. So,
exactly. I like what you did there.
All right, Mr. Brown. Thank you so much for coming on, and good luck. Like April said, good luck to you, and Godspeed. Your articulation of your platform has been, I think, very helpful to most to everybody.
Absolutely.
And certainly has helped me. I've never met you before, even though you say you're born and bred in Conway. But
see, that's the age gap I was telling you about. I have to tell people my name. So we were working on that. And before we end, I want to thank you guys for all you do as well. I see your posts all the time, and you're doing a great thing in Conway, and definitely getting the word out about not just this but other stuff.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much. And looks like, other comments are coming in. Lots of well wishes. Patricia Chestnut Skinner and Crystal Vereen Brantley, all wishing you good luck. And that's awesome. That should make you feel good, Kendall, that your village is behind you. All right. Awesome. Well, thank you.
Somebody want to say that I know your uncles, but I don't know.
Okay. Y'all have to talk about that after the show. Yeah.
We'll talk about it another time. Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Awesome. All right. Well, everyone have a good night, and we'll be back next Tuesday, same time. And
same time.
All right. So take care. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you all soon.
Godspeed.
Thank you for watching the World Community Magazine's Hour of Power Live on Facebook with your host Edward McQueen and April Garner.